Nitro with the nice flow. Y'all acting like y'all don't know. Stop acting like y'all don't know.
Joe Campbell.
Who the future? We the future. Who the future? Us. Who the future? We the future. Who the future? Us. Causing chaos in the back of the bus. Get your hands up. We gon' show you how we buzz. Yeah. The future.
On a suddenly not so casual free Friday night, it is September 16th, 2022. It is CFB, Knowledge for College, the Shark and the Gun. Welcome to the show. I am the Shark. This is the Gun. Guns Picks, Friday night. What's going on, brother?
You see what color shirt I'm wearing? It's green. If you're colorblind, I'm wearing a green shirt. You know why I'm wearing a green shirt? Because we made you money last week. Shark brought you plus 2.22 units. I brought you 6.45 units. That is a total of 8.67 units in week 2. We are cooking with absolute fire. And we're going to be doing it all season long. Let's kill it in week 3. I'm ready.
Absolutely not waiting around. High noon on the East Coast, 11 a.m. in Nebraska. A coaching change years overdue. Scott Frost, far gone. Mickey Joseph in, hosting Oklahoma. Guns Picks, unofficial.
People think after a coach firing that the team will just fall apart in shambles and that's the end of their season. And not so fast, my friend. Usually the change is needed. And you see a lot of the reports from the players saying like they wanted Frost gone. It was killing the vibes of the team. Now they go kumbaya around the interim coach. You have Nebraska coming off a drastic upset over Georgia Southern as a huge favorite. Now they come into this game. They play an Oklahoma team that is 2-0, but they didn't play anybody either. They only played UTEP and Kent State with a plus 156 net yard average. That ain't great when you're playing those bad teams. Also, Oklahoma's first road game of the season, 0-3 ATS last season as a road favorite. So you have Nebraska coming off a tough week. They've covered last year against Oklahoma, 23-16 as a 22.5 point dog. Now they're sitting here at home as an 11.5 point dog. That is a big swing considering the situation that's going on with Nebraska. So I like the spot. I think the offense is good enough to stay with an Oklahoma team that their defense is very suspect to me. They're going to be ready. They're going to be charged up. They want to get the interim coach's first win. Give me Nebraska plus 11.5 as the play.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with this. And as you mentioned, historically, when a coach is removed from a toxic situation, you want to buy the team, particularly a team with massive upside. Of course, I talked about this going into the season before week 0 in Dublin, Ireland, thinking something might change because this team had lost so many close games last year. It did not. And Scott Frost, I mean, of course, nothing personal, but this guy, historically awful college football coach. This team has underachieved now for 3 seasons, of course, culminating last week with an outright loss to Georgia Southern. An absolute disgrace. It's a great look. We're segueing quickly to my first play of the day, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon in Las Vegas. The Gun was on last night with my guy, the Dutch, calling out the 702. We're calling out 702. Larry Johnson, UNLV. First half, minus 1.5. A lot going on here. You have to go back to last year. UNLV last year started the campaign 0-8 straight up. And if you guys have noticed, a lot of the players that I've dropped over the first few weeks are finding teams that started the season last year terribly and caught wind late, and it's translated to this season. And that's exactly what this UNLV team has done. They were 0-8. Since then, they are 5-1 ATS, including 2 outright wins last year against New Mexico, Hawaii, a cover against ranked 19 San Diego State. And then you come into this season, and this is what I call schedule scaling within the half-to-half frequency and patterns game to game. In the opener this year, UNLV did open against Idaho State as a significant favorite. They came out in the first half at home in Allegiant Stadium and absolutely demolished this team. Last week, they went to Cal out of the Pac-12, came out flat. Now they come back home and they catch North Texas, who did perform for us in week 0 on the road as a favorite. North Texas is 2-0 on the campaign as a favorite. They are 0-1 as an underdog. The split is on this. UNLV first half -1.5 on a 2.5 game. It's strong for a reason. UNLV will come out in their home stadium tomorrow off a road loss, jacked up in the first half. Official play, first half -1.5. 2 p.m., USA, no, not the men's soccer team, the University of Southern Alabama at Chip Kelly. UCLA, third consecutive non-conference game before a conference opener next week at Colorado. South Alabama +16 and official from the gun.
I'm liking the Jaguars here, and I'm not talking the ones that live in Jacksonville. I'm talking the ones that live in South Alabama. Don't sleep on this South Alabama team at all. I mean, this offense is absolutely electric. Both of these teams, including UCLA, have played lackluster schedules, but they took care of business in both spots. You have South Alabama with a great quarterback, Carter Bradley, 64.2 pass completion rate, 9.2 yards per attempt, 6 touchdowns, and 1 INT this year. They also have a great running back in LaDainian Webb, 5.0 yards per carry and 4 touchdowns already this season. You have a UCLA defense that is absolutely suspect, especially against weaker opponents. Last week they gave up they only gave up 2 sacks this season on a 2.1 sack rate. That's not very good, especially with a defensive line that can't get to the ball. You give Carter Bradley some time, he's going to pass the ball up the field. I think this is one of those situations that the offense is going to stay with UCLA. It's possibly a look-ahead spot, as this is a game, their only last non-conference game before they get into the Pac-12 schedule. Also, South Alabama 12-6 against the spread as a double-digit dog. UCLA 4-9 straight up and against the spread versus non-conference opponents. 4-6 straight up and 2-8 against the spread versus G5 opponents. I like those trends. Give me South Alabama +16 as the play.
Speaking of Alabama, next play, I'm going 2 units, but we're splitting this up first half and game. We're going to University of Alabama, Birmingham, and we're buying a team that got us last week. But this is crucial in sports betting, staying the course with a good idea. University of Alabama, Birmingham last week went on the road to Liberty, a team that is down this year, and laid a complete egg. 21-14 outright loss. Came out in the first quarter very quickly with a touchdown. We thought we were going to cruise, but what happened? 3 first half fumbles. They gave the game away. So they come back home and they catch a Georgia Southern team who just beat the aforementioned Nebraska Cornhuskers on the road with a late flurry in the fourth quarter, 45-42. An immense high for Georgia Southern and a low for UAB. And if you go back to last year, in week 2 last year, on the road, UAB got hammered at Georgia, 56-7. In the following week, we played this last year. They went into North Texas, came out, refocused, rejuvenated, pissed off, and hammered North Texas 40-6. Slightly later on, they lost to Liberty last year as well. Off a Liberty loss, they came back at home and hammered Florida Atlantic. You want to take this all angles, all boxes checked. First half -7, 1 unit, and game -11.5, 1 unit. Guns picks. Kansas State, Manhattan, Kansas, hosting Tulane. Kansas State, I believe, a look ahead next week. The underdog, an official.
People are doubting this Tulane team, and I understand why. 2-10 last season, but you got to look at the point differential. -6 point differential overall, -43 net yard average is what they did. They're bringing back 18 starters here, folks. This team is frisky, as they say. Kansas State is one-dimensional. They love to run the ball. Now, when you look at Tulane's schedule, especially like last year, they played really close against teams that like to run the ball. When they got blown out, it was against pass-heavy teams. We're talking Mississippi, ECU, Houston, SMU. All big passing teams like to move the ball through the air. This team will not move down through the air. Remember, Adrian Martinez is the quarterback for Kansas State and got booted from Nebraska because he couldn't pass the ball. Now you have a Tulane squad that has covered 6 out of their last 7 games dating back to last season, and the under has hit in 6 out of those 7. In other words, if you like Tulane, you love the under, and that's all correlating in here. Plus, you got to look at Kansas State. Who do they got next? They got to play Oklahoma. Do you know what happened last year against Oklahoma? They lost 37-31 at home as 11.5-point dogs in dramatic fashion. They're going to be wanting revenge. Maybe a spot for Kansas State next week. We shall see when the line comes out. But I like the dog here, and I also like the under. So give me Tulane plus 14.5 and the under 47 as the play.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off. Of course, Tulane comes in here. Their first major conference opponent of the season, 2-0, 2 covers. Tulane Green Wave, ride the wave or get out of the water. And we go 3:30 p.m. We go to App State. We're taking the dog on the road, Troy plus 13.5. Of course, this is the theme of this week and this broadcast. Stay the course with good ideas. Last week, we took Troy to blow out Alabama A&M. They came out, and I thought the box score was frozen. They didn't score any points until the last 3 or 4 minutes of the first half. It was ridiculous. Anyway, that being said, now they come back on the road, and they catch an App State team in an absolute dead zone spot. The opener, back and forth, 63-61 loss against UNC. Last week, they went to Texas A&M and won the game outright against Jimbo and the boys, a ranked opponent, one of the biggest highs in program history. Now they come back in conference, and they catch Troy with Gunnar Watson at QB. Since Gunnar became the quarterback in week 6 last year, there have been 2 spots on the road for Troy as double-digit underdogs. At Coastal Carolina last year, plus 12.5, cover 35-28. Week 1 this year at Ole Miss, plus 21.5, loss 28-10, cover. This game is going to be a lot tighter than people think. This is where Troy plays up to the moment as opposed to down to the moment last week against Alabama A&M. And this is an absolute dead zone spot coming off 2 huge efforts for Appalachian State. 1 unit plus 13.5 official. 4 p.m. We're going Houston. Houston took a tough loss in overtime last week at Texas Tech. They get to host Kansas, perpetual bottom feeder in the Big 12. We're at -9, an official.
I mean, Houston has had the toughest games in their first 2 games. Listen, they had to play a tough OT game versus UTSA, winning the game 33-30. Then they had to go travel again, go to Texas Tech. Granted, it's in-state, but man, these teams are far away from each other. Texas is a big state. They lost in overtime, like Shark just said. And now they're heading home for their first home game. So they're going to be really jazzed up for this one. Kansas off a win. They beat Western Virginia 55-42, but the net yard average on that one was -82. So really, they lost the yardage battle and still won handily against a Western Virginia team, and it was the first time they beat them since 2013. Kumbaya, highs of highs, and then they have to go on the road. I think they're going to go in a little bit too confident, in my opinion, against a Houston team that needs to kill somebody. When you look at this Kansas team, they need to run the ball. That is their success point. They put up 200 yards on the ground against West Virginia, and they put up a ton of yards in their first game as well. But I don't think Kansas is back. Back from what? A Bob Evans breakfast? Give me a break here, folks. What does Houston do great? They stop the run. They're ranked 10th in the country last year at stopping the run with a 3.4 yards per carry given away to their opponents. So in this season, they're doing it again, only giving up 3.1 yards per carry this season, and they played some really good teams. UTSA loves to run the ball as well. You have QB Clayton Tune and top receiver Nathaniel the Tank Dell. That is absolutely going to be destroying this team. Kansas is going to see this coming from this Houston team. It's about damn time that Houston goes up and beats a team in dramatic fashion, and I think people are going to be a little too high on Kansas, and I do smell a public dog, and public dogs have fleas. So give me Houston -9 as the play.
Yeah, I like it. Great breakdown there. We're going 3:30 p.m. We are going to one of the marquee matchups of the day, and we're fading the first half with Penn State. And this is a key point. Penn State coming into Auburn can very well cover this spread, but we're targeting Auburn in the first half. This is the third consecutive home game for Auburn. In the opener, they came out against Mercer and hammered them in the first half. Off of that great performance last week at home, they faced off against San Jose State, and they did similar to what UAB did last week in the early going. 2 interceptions in the first quarter to really set the game back and just bring a poor effort with focus and efficiency in the first half. So now you come off that terrible effort. You get a revenge game against ranked Penn State. And you look at Penn State. Penn State is 2-0 ATS and 2-0 first half ATS with authority, but very situational stuff. In the opener at Purdue in conference under the lights, and then a home game against Ohio, which is not representative of a travel point in the SEC to Auburn. You want to buy Auburn in the first half off a dud. You want to fade Penn State off a 2-0 sample situationally, giving them advantage in the first half, and the line correlates towards it. In almost every book in the country, we're on a short figure for the first half exclusively. Some are plus a half, some are +1. The game is 2.5, 3. It's showcasing strength to Auburn in the first half. Auburn first half +1 official. Next play. Speaking of Texas A&M, having lost last week to App State, now they get an automatic bounce back in one of 2 ranked matchups this week against the University of Miami, who's coming in here off a home lackluster spot against the University of Southern Miss. Guns picks 9 p.m. unofficial.
It's one of those perfect spots for A&M. And this game was not on my radar until today. But my man at Dabby Cab sent me some information that they were going to make a quarterback change and put in the porn star himself. Max Johnson is going to be starting the transfer from LSU. If you haven't checked the stats on this kid, he is absolutely a great quarterback. 60.3% completion rate, 7.5 yards per attempt, 27 touchdowns, 6 INTs at LSU last season. It is the perfect situation. You get the QB switch here. They only put up 186 yards of total offense against App State. UNC put up like 3 million yards against them, and you're telling me that you're going to start King one more time? I don't think so. Max Johnson is going to be the quarterback. I took it at -6.5 here. Also, you got to look at Miami. Everybody's high on Miami. Miami's beaten their first 2 opponents by 40 points per game. But look who their opponents are. The juggernaut Bethune-Cookman and Southern Miss. Those don't tell me anything. Now you're telling me this Miami team as a dog on the road playing a Texas A&M team that got upset as a double-digit favorite is not going to come out. You think they're going to come out and be ready for this Texas A&M team? I don't think so, my friend. Jimbo is going to be ready for this game. Max Johnson is going to be playing the porn music in this game. And everybody's going to be wearing the mustaches. And I'm talking about the porn mustaches. Give me Texas A&M -6.5 as the play.
Yeah, it's a great buy low without question. As we mentioned, University of Miami last week, lackluster spot against the University of Southern Mississippi. I mentioned this on Twitter. We're taking one play of a team that is winless, laying over 30 points. We're taking the University of Southern Mississippi -30.5 at home versus Northwestern State. And this is just one of those spots where Southern Miss started the season last year, very similar to UNLV. UNLV 0-8, Southern Miss 1-9. Since then, they have turned a corner, and they've shown immense efficiency ATS. They did cover last week at Miami, and you have to go back to last year in terms of the functionality of this environment. 2 of their wins last year were home covers, and both of those games, they laid double-digit points. They laid double-digit points to Grambling State, who we've faded earlier this year, and they laid double-digit points to FIU, who we also faded last week with Texas State. So now you get Southern Miss laying what appears to be an egregious figure, but this is where they function well. And just one final point, when you go down the Northwestern State calendar, in week 1 at Montana, they were getting 33.5 points, and lost the game 47-0. And then in week 2, they played fellow FCS opponent out of the SWAC, Grambling State, the same Grambling State that lost 37-0 last year to Southern Mississippi. And Grambling State beat Northwestern State 47-21. This is a blowout waiting to happen. Southern Miss is right there. They lost in 4 overtimes in week 1 to Liberty. Last week, they were competitive in the first half down in Miami. This is their time to stand the hell up, let their aggression out, and demolish what is really a bottom feeder team. Minus 30.5, 1 unit. Next play, 11 p.m. We're going to Arizona State University, road team out of the MAC, Eastern Michigan, plus 20. The gun with an official.
The degenerate special is what I call this game. This is a perfect spot here for EMU. Now, if you watch EMU last game, they played Louisiana and were a dog in this one. EMU is a great road dog, by the way. 20-6 against the spread as an away dog in the last 6 years. 3-4 straight up versus Power 5 opponents as well. They were actually up 14-0 in the first half, and all of a sudden, weather delay. Weather delay kills momentum. It kills everything that you're doing. They had to go back on the field. They ended up losing the game 49-21 and losing the cover. So now you got this spot with an Arizona State team that's 5-8 against the spread as a home favorite in the last 3 years. And also they're coming off a tough loss to Oklahoma State on the road, 37-17, where they're a minus 111 net yards in that game and over 468 yards of total offense. But it's a sandwich situation. What I mean by a sandwich is they're coming off a key opponent, and then next week they're going to have to play another key opponent, Utah. So it's one of those overlooked type situations. You have a school that knows how to play on the road, gets motivated on the road, covers on the road. So you got them at plus 20 here. So I like EMU plus 20 as the degenerate special.
Yeah, and of course, last week, my quote-unquote degenerate special did not work out with Arizona, but that was Arizona just being Arizona. Mississippi State, of course, with a tight matchup this week at LSU. But speaking of tight matchups, the next play, another 2-unit spot, first half and game. We're not expecting a tight matchup here. We're staying the course with Georgia State at home in Atlanta under the lights at the old Olympic Field. And what's going on here? You really have to track Georgia State. Georgia State in the opener, as we discussed last week, got backdoored at the University of South Carolina with 2 blocked punts for touchdowns late in the game to get backdoored. They were otherwise very competitive. They were actually up 14-12 in the middle of the third quarter. Go back to last week, first home game of the year. They caught UNC, and they did cover by a hook. However, they came out ultra flat. And we talk about this in the NBA all the time with a lot of travel. Teams come off of road games. First game at home, they come out flat. Second game at home, they're comfortable, they're ready. They come out incredibly juiced up. And you look at the opponent here, Charlotte. We incorrectly took Charlotte in the opener. We didn't know much about Charlotte. We have learned. Charlotte is an absolute bottom feeder. In that game I just mentioned, they got absolutely hammered at Florida Atlantic. So let that stand for itself. They came home in what should have been a theoretical get-right spot against FCS William and Mary, and they lost that game to William and Mary by 3 touchdowns. Then they came back last week against Maryland, who is notorious for being unable to cover large spreads, and Maryland covered minus 27.5 against this team. Last year, Georgia State did play at home against Charlotte early in the season and win 20-9 by 11 on a minus 4.5. So they win by 11 on a 4.5, and all of a sudden you get a 19.5 for a team that is coming off a close non-cover, a close non-outright win. This team is ready to win and demolish somebody in the process. We're looking at first half, and we're looking at it under the lights. The game last week was at noon. This team will come out throughout the day. The energy will build. First half minus 12.5, game minus 19.5. Taking a breath, final play. The gun, top play of his card. Fresno State fading number 7 of the country. Lincoln Riley and the boys, USC. Talk to me.
You know what, Shark? I don't like this play. I freaking love this play. Fresno State coming off a tough loss to Oregon State where they thought they were going to tie the game and go into overtime. No, not so fast. Oregon State took them out, went for the win, and got the win 35-32. But you actually look at the domination on the net yards, plus 95 net yards in that game. This is a good Fresno State team. I love Jake Hader. Now you got USC. Everybody loves USC. Oh, they're going to make the college football playoff. Oh, they're the darling of the Pac-12. You know what this situation reminds me of? It reminds me of what people thought of UCLA in 2021. And you know what team they had to face in that situation? Guess what? Fresno State, double-digit dog, plus 11, plus 10. That was a spot again. And guess what Fresno State did? Jake Hader came in with his swagger, cock of the walk, the rooster, just bearing them down the field. The Bulldogs, just tearing them up and won outright in that game. I can see the situation happen again with a lackluster USC team. Now look who they played last week. They played Stanford. What happened in that game? Stanford absolutely self-destructed in turnovers. USC had plus 47 turnovers in that game. They barely won the net yard averages against a Stanford team. Excuse me? I don't know why people love this USC team. Great. They have a good offense. Jordan Addison is an absolute legend, but their defense is absolutely terrible. Now, Fresno State, you want to look against the spread, 6-1 against the spread versus the Pac-12. Absolutely a great number. Still love it. Checking all the boxes in every single scenario. This game is a similar situation. Like I said, UCLA. Look back to that. I can see the same thing happening again here with USC. So this is not a 1 unit, not a 2 unit. It's a 3-unit play. Give me Fresno State plus 13 as my biggest play of the year so far.
I love it. And that will be, of course, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific tomorrow night. And I want to make this point. I say it all the time. It is the Shark and the Gun. I share Guns as plays. These are not officials for me. He does not cross over to every one of my officials. So please do your homework, guys. Take responsibility for the plays, and we will give them to you right now in order. My official plays: UNLV first half minus 1.5, UAB first half minus 7, UAB game minus 11.5, Troy plus 13.5, Auburn first half plus 1, Southern Miss minus 30.5, Georgia State first half minus 12.5, and game minus 19.5. Guns at noon, Nebraska plus 11.5, South Alabama plus 16, Tulane plus 14.5, Houston minus 9, Texas A&M, a nice spot to buy low, minus 6.5, EMU plus 20 at Arizona State. And, of course, the nightcap 3-unit special, Fresno State plus 13. It is Sharky Waters Nation, 9 words of lifestyle. Ride the wave out of the water. It is CFB, Knowledge for College, the Shark and the Gun, Week 3, Free Friday, September 16th. Guns picks, final words. We appreciate you guys immensely. Share, like, and retweet for domination only. Top plays will be shared all day tomorrow. And let the Gun close them out with some final words, and let's dominate.
Hey, appreciate all the live watches. I see we have 17 live on YouTube, 83 right now on the Twitter, so we appreciate it. Like Shark said, like, share, retweet, put it in the comment section. Also, I'm going to do a live college football, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. I got to move it up a little bit. I got oblos, so please join me during that show. I will talk everything. Fire away with all your college questions. That's where I'll be tomorrow morning. But thanks for joining us. Till next time for Week 4. Win some games. Let's cash some tickets. And as always, let's keep dancing.